Hello, family. Welcome, 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 welcome. We are so excited that you are here today. Welcome to another segment of Sound Mind. My name is Bryant Collier. I'm your host for today, and I am so excited that you've come to tune in again. We thank you for your loyalty to this segment and to Hope TV as a whole. So on behalf of Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr. and our entire Hope TV family, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you. As always, we're going to ask that you share this with at least 5 people. Now, you know you got at least 5 people you can share this with, so make sure you do that really quickly. If you're on YouTube, we want you to subscribe to the Hope TV, House of Hope Atlanta. We want you to stay plugged into what's going on here, specifically with Sound Mind. I want to give a thank you once again to the people that are working behind the scenes to make this possible. I know you just see my face, but there's an army of people behind here that are making it possible, and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have phenomenal guests on this show, and today is no different. We're going someone back that shared with us before. His name is Mr. Gordon Collier. We're going to sit on his couch today. If you missed him the last time, go back and watch that episode. But just to tell you a little bit about him, he's born and raised in the capital region of New York City. He's the founder of Beyond Living. It's a practice that offers opportunities both on the micro and macro levels with individual and group counseling. He received his master's in social work from the University of Albany, and he is an adjunct professor of social work at Siena College. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Gordon Collier.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you. Listen, the last show we did was so phenomenal. Thank you once again for that, breaking the stigma of HIV. It was phenomenal. And we just had to bring you back for a second conversation. But this one is a little different. 2020 has been crazy. I don't care where you are in the world. It has just been crazy. And so one of the conversations that really is important to me specifically about mental and emotional health is self-care. And I want to make sure you have enough time to help us work through self-care. So let's just jump right in. Can you define, kind of give us a definition of what self-care is?
Self-care is simply giving yourself permission to pause. It's giving yourself that permission to say, I need to take a breath, or I need to take some time to cater to myself and nurture my soul.
That's good. Giving yourself permission to pause. Somebody write that in the comments for me. Just write that so everybody can see that. Self-care is giving yourself the permission to pause. Now, we say giving ourselves the permission to pause. Why that verbiage? Why the verbiage? Why the word permission there?
Because we often find ourselves taking care of everybody else, right? And doing for everyone else and doing work. And if we have a family, we're taking care of the family, or we don't allow ourselves that time to pause. And so giving yourself permission is, I have the authority over my own life. Now, if I'm an active participant in my own life, then that means I can give myself the permission. But sometimes we're not an active participant. We're just going and going and going.
So help me here. Can we do a roll call really quickly? I wanna call out the moms and the dads and the grandparents that are teachers right now. I want to call out those that are really trying to grind and make work happen and continue to work during this crazy pandemic. I want to call out the pastors and ministry workers right now that have just kept going and going and going and going. You are the ones that we are talking to right now. You need to give yourself the permission to pause. That's good. I like that. That's good. So what is the effect you would suggest that COVID-19 has had on us and our thought process and practice of self-care?
I think it goes both ways. I think it goes one way of, we have time now to pause for some. And then there are others who, the heightened sense of anxiety and the heightened sense of depression because of the pandemic and isolation and the unknown, or people around me and loved ones are dying. I think it goes both ways, but I think both have the opportunity to really highlight and look at self care.
What are some indicators that it's time to to give ourselves permission to pause?
So for me, I know when my attitude is connected to irritability. When
Ah,
I feel like I have my fuse is a little short, and I'm ready to fight the person at Popeyes for not giving me my honey for my biscuit. That's an indicator that okay, you need to take some time.
mm,
Um, for others, it
mm.
might be lack of sleep. For others, it might be an increase in appetite. For others, it might be a decrease in appetite. Um, there are different things that our body tells us that we need to take some time to pause. I don't think we have learned or given ourselves that permission, if you will, to listen to our bodies because our
Mm.
bodies tell us.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Our bodies do tell us. I'm laughing at you with you saying your fuse gets a little short with irritability because I think there's a few people. I'm talking to somebody on this side of the room that that we get frustrated sometimes, and it's so true. Like when work gets crazy and we're like working, like we have turnaround times for things. I know my tolerance for people gets really low. But I know at that time I need a nap. And some of y'all out there, you just need a nap. You need to give yourself permission to take a nap. Hallelujah. I'm sorry, Gordon. I just felt like that was needed in that moment there of self care. So we see the signs, we know we need self care, but here's a real concern that I had specifically in this conversation of self care because honestly, I find it hard to differentiate between the difference of being selfish and doing self care. What
Hmm.
are is there a thin line somewhere there? Can you help us work through that?
Yes. My thought process around that is your intention.
Mm,
Now, selfish, my intention is it has nothing to do with me. It's more of an external thing or a response to something, and I want to send a message to someone else.
mm,
Selfish.
mhm.
If I feel like I need to let somebody know I'm taking time to do this, that, and the third, it's an external thing. My response or my intention is outside of me. Self care
Mm.
really speaks to nurturing and taking care of me.
So you're
Does that
putting
make
the
sense?
do not disturb sign. Yeah, you're instead of calling and saying, "Don't call me, don't talk to me, don't bother me. I'm taking some time." It's just putting the do not disturb sign up. So if someone does call, if someone, so it's turning off our phone. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not. It's going away for the weekend and only telling an emergency contact just in case something happens. It's taking
Absolutely.
intentional. I like that. You want to expound on that a little bit more?
Yes, because we think about it as like, oh, we need a weekend getaway, or we
Hmm.
need, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, that is self-care, and that you're absolutely right. But it also could be not texting that person back, not engaging in that conversation, not engaging with,
Woo!
certain things that don't serve you, setting in healthy boundaries. That's self-care. That's something that we can do on a daily basis. That's something that we can do in the moment. I don't need a vacation to practice self-care. I can put my phone away.
Ouch. I just feel attacked right now. I don't know about any more of y'all out there, but he has just come for my whole life. Gordon, you are not welcome on this show again. I'm just playing with you. No, I just feel it. I feel it. You said you don't have to respond to that text. Oh my gosh, that's self-care, Gordon?
Absolutely, because when you play the tape out, the conversation is it conducive to my well-being, to my soul growth. If it's not,
Mm,
then I need to end the conversation. I, I'm
mm,
really looking at it from a lens of my soul growth, not
mm.
from a place of I'm not going to text this person back because I know that they're going to feel a type of way. That's selfish and
Well,
that's manipulation.
Somebody's gonna be mad at Gordon today. I just know it. I know it. If you get some hate emails, it's not my fault, Gordon.
Oh man, no.
No. No, I'm just messing with you. But no, it's so real. So you use the word, it's a B word. You said boundaries. Can you walk us through that a little bit? Because it sounds to me that boundaries are very important to self-care.
Absolutely. I got chills because I love talking about boundaries. Boundaries allows me to love myself, but also love you.
Mm,
When boundaries are interrupted, sometimes and most often, there's an interruption in the relationship. And then I'm aggravated with you. I'm frustrated with you. I don't feel like talking to you. And that's not conducive or in alignment with soul growth. We're in relationship for opportunities for us both to grow. But boundaries helps me realize that, okay, this is what I need in this moment. Boundaries, asking yourself, what do I need, helps connect you to boundaries. And boundary setting looks at relationships, it looks at tasks at jobs, it looks at many different things. But setting healthy boundaries really speaks to what I actually need in the moment. That connects back to your first question about permission. I don't ask the question, what do I need, as often as I should, or as often as I need to.
That's good. That's good. So I'm gonna throw another one at you. What's the difference between boundaries and just a wall? Because sometimes
I,
people like to say, I threw my wall up. Nope, I'm just keeping myself safe. What's the difference between those two?
I think it goes back to intention. I think it goes back to what is it connected to? My wall is usually, or typically, not usually, sometimes it's connected to me and my fears and my reluctance to trusting people. We're quick to say I knew it. They wasn't a good friend anyway. I knew it, and there goes the
We be
wall.
waiting, Gordon. We be waiting for them to mess up. We gotta. It's like we got a card ready. We waiting. You weren't
Exactly,
real anyway.
and that's connected to trauma,
Mm,
intergenerational trauma. And that's connected to our fear around trusting people to hold us or to hold us down or to be supportive. And so the minute that we feel it or sense it, the wall goes up. Now, the difference between that and boundaries is the intention, because boundaries is saying you the trust may be there or may not be there, but it's less about the trust and more about me and my self-care, my nurturing of my own soul. Because if I get into the mode of judging you and being frustrated with you, that takes me out of my character and that takes me out of what I actually need and my peace of mind. My boundaries is connected to my sound mind and the peace that I need in this moment. Because I'm not going to get in an argument with you about nothing when I value my peace and I value my joy, and those are things that I need in this moment in order for me to move and thrive. But because the relationship is not healthy, because we have a lot of unhealthy relationships, when it's not
uh,
healthy,
we got a lot of what, Gordon? We got a lot of what?
un-
Say it again.
unhealthy relationships.
Woo.
And so that really speaks to intention.
That's good there. We do have a lot of unhealthy relationships. Now, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to make a confession on live streaming platform. I don't mind putting myself out there. I am a recovering people pleaser. I am working through that in my life right now. And it's funny you say some of this because these are some of the things that, because I believe you need Jesus and a therapist. Amen. Amen. Some of the things that I've been working through. Did you feel that, Gordon? Did you feel that?
I felt it. I felt it.
But it's been some things I've been working on. Is just trying to work through healthy boundaries and knowing what that looks like. It's intention, like you said, and it's asking ourselves the questions: what do I need? Now, Help us work through the difference between what we want versus what we
Hmm.
need. Because
Hmm.
there are some people who might have those connected and synonymous, and they're not the same.
Hmm. You know, we say that, and there might be a song out there about it, but we talk about the difference between need versus want a lot, and this is a deeper question because it is intertwined, right? Sometimes it is misconstrued or it is blurry, but
Mm,
my need is connected to my soul.
mm,
And the more I get to know who I am and my soul, I can identify what I need.
mm, mm,
My want is connected to my ego. My want is connected to my self preservation and who I want to present, my ideal self. But my need
yeah,
is connected to my authentic self.
mm. That's good. That's good. I love that. I love that. That's a good balance between the two. So let's turn a corner. How do you balance self care while in a relationship? So I want to give a few caveats here. So if you can, and I think we have the time to break it down in like a relationship with a significant other, a partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. And then I want you to also help us in the way of family relationships. So being a parent or even a child, how do you balance self-care in those relationships? Oh, and don't forget friendship either. Okay, I'm gonna give you those three. I'm gonna give you those three.
We might need another segment on this one. This is another tricky one because we dance in relationships and we don't know who's taking the lead. We or someone has been assigned the role of the lead and we're reluctant to setting boundaries because then that puts us in the lead. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Does that make sense out there, y'all? Okay, I think they said yes. I think we're all on the same page. Keep
So
going.
when it comes to family, let's do family relationships. I have to manage my expectations. If my mother or my father or my cousins have been the same throughout my entire life, my role is not to change them. My
Mm.
role is to manage my expectations and accept them for who they are. Now, that's
Woo.
I know somebody's gonna write something in the comments about that, but it's challenging. It's not an easy thing. But my role, I cannot change them. So, what does acceptance look like in this relationship? And going from there, that's where self care is. It's in between, it's woven into that acceptance. And that goes back to answering the phone or not answering the phone. Setting boundaries, healthy boundaries, helps me manage my expectations.
That's good.
Now, the same thing can be said about romantic relationships. But romantic relationships is a little tricky because if we're in a marriage or um, if we're staying committed to building the relationship, I'll say that. If we're staying committed to building the relationship, self-care is important because I can't serve you and neglect myself. But we often find ourselves in those situations where sacrificing myself looks like or feels like I'm building the relationship and I'm not.
Yeah.
So, what does it look like for both of us to practice self care? You grow, you do what you need to do in order for you to thrive in this life, and we'll meet in the middle because I'm going to do the same thing. It's the meeting in the middle that I think we miss sometimes. And then we form codependent relationships. And the codependent relationships suggest that this is toxic. And by me being in your life, you think that we're going to grow and you're going to change. But also, I think the same thing. And we're missing the mark and we're missing each other. But if I'm doing my own work, if I'm doing my soul growth, if I'm doing all the things that I need, you're doing the same thing and we meet in the middle, that's a power couple.
Mm. I I'm scared to almost ask this because I you may say, well, this is a whole nother segment, and if it is, I will respect your decision and move on, Gordon. But when you talk about even having individuals within a relationship that are emotionally healthy and doing the work, what do you do if you find yourself in a position in a friendship, in a relationship, where you were dealing with someone who is emotionally unaware or
Mhm.
unhealthy and or unhealthy?
Well, I have to ask myself, do I want to stay committed? Am I in, do I want to stay committed? And then I have to look at the evidence.
Mm,
And is there evidence that suggests that they're committed in this with me? And if not, then I got to let you go.
that's good. That did y'all hear him? Did y'all hear the guest revivalist today? He said, "You got a choice. Do you want to stay committed? And if there's not evidence that they're working, you got go by chunk the deuces to the left. Okay, I'm done. I'm back. We're back refocused. Thank you. So it's important. What I've really heard you say, it's important. We are important. Our mental and emotional health is important. It's connected to our soul. And we have to do the work to put boundaries in place to protect that. Because once you're
Yes.
drained, you don't know it's too late until it's too late sometimes. It's almost like being dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't know because you're just going, and then you pass out on the side of the road somewhere, and it's because you haven't been taking in the nutrients that you need. That's just been helpful, so helpful. So where do we start? Where would you suggest someone begin in establishing their own self-care?
Asking yourself, what do I need?
Mhm.
Because it's going to look different from day to day. Sometimes you may need some time to meditate. You may need to disconnect from social media. You may need not answer the phone when so and so is calling. But asking yourself is, to me, the beginning of the beginning of your self care practice is asking, what do I need? And if I can
Mhm.
answer that question from an honest and a truly honest place that's connected to my soul, that's connected to my authentic self and my highest good, then I can go from there because it's going to look different. And if I don't know what to do, I have to do some research. I have to look at research within myself, but also do research online of what are some self care practices. For me, sometimes it's meditating, sometimes it's going into the park or walking, doing a mindfulness walk, and that's doing a walk and listening for the things that I wouldn't normally listen for. The squirrel running up and down the tree, the birds in the distance, the wind going through the trees, and listening to what does that sound like when the wind hits the leaves.
Mhm.
That's practicing mindfulness and that's practicing self-care.
That's good. That's really good. Now you keep dropping these little nuggets, and I'm gonna go to one you just dropped. But on practices of self care, I do some similar things. So one of my hobbies I do when I want to get away, I do turn off my cell phone. I'll take off my Apple Watch because it drives me literally crazy
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And I will go, like, especially when we could go to the malls and such. I would go and people watch. I would go sit in
Mm.
the middle of the food court, get something to eat, and for 2 hours, Gordon, I can sit and watch, because what it tells me is that this world is way bigger than me. It's way bigger than my problems, and it makes me feel small and human again. Because sometimes when you're caught up in your world and your problems, you think that it's like life or death to the existence of humanity, when really it's it only you'll know. But you dropped something. You said getting off of social media can even help our self care. I told you I had to come back to it because it was so good. Because I mean, think about it right now. Like between the Black Lives Matter movements with mindless murders still happening. I don't even want to really go into that, but mindless murders, shootings still happening, police brutality. The conventions have been held. Political season is full underway. A lot of that's in our feed right now. For some people that are watching, you're looking at the state of Georgia and we're just wide open. Gordon, I'm sure you've looked at us and like, y'all just don't care down there. Pray for us. But a lot of that can be overwhelming. But you're saying that sometimes it's important to even get off of social media.
Absolutely, because social media, it goes back to that community in the previous segment, that community level of infiltration and impact on us and what we consume. I have to be mindful of what I'm consuming, even unbeknownst to me. Social media is a tool that feeds us information and sometimes nonsense that we don't even realize that we've consumed.
Huh? It just slides right in, Gordon. Nonsense.
It gets in there.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you honestly, like I was scrolling, I couldn't sleep last night and I was scrolling, and a practice I've been doing is if I see someone post something I don't like, I just unfriend them or unfollow them. It is the most liberating experience. And I don't make a post. I don't send them a message and say I didn't like, nope, I don't want to see. And I have that freedom, and it's giving myself the permission to say, I don't want to see that. I don't want that a part of my life. Well, Gordon, the time is just, these 30 minutes just moved by so fast. Before we leave your couch today, can you give us some final nuggets, some final words to help us with self-care and just what we talked about in this session today?
Yes. Give yourself permission to pause. Give yourself the permission to nurture your own soul and be that active participant in your own life. For so long, you or we've been denied that. We've been going along to get along, and now it's time out for that. And it's time for us to really relish in the notion that I am enough.
That's good. Thank you so much, Gordon, for joining us today. We are so indebted to you and just grateful for all the wisdom you've shared with us in these two segments. Gordon, can you share it with us how we can find you, get in touch with you, social media handles? What do you have for us?
Yes, absolutely. Well, one, thank you for having me. I love having these conversations. They're imperative to who we are as individuals. And so having a platform and a tool for folks to not only listen, but engage, I think that's important for us. So thank you for that. But y'all can find me on Instagram at Beyond Living Services, Facebook, Beyond Living. You can find me on my website, beyondlivingservices.com. I love to have conversations, further conversations, deeper conversations, connect you to resources because we're here to help one another. And so social media, while it can be nonsense, but it's also a useful tool to connect to other people, like-minded people that you need in your life.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for those resources. You now know how to connect to them. As we get ready to leave today, I want to leave with you what Mr. Collier shared with us today. You are worth it. You are so deserving of the self-care. Take care of yourself. Give yourself permission. And he told you, you don't have to book a vacation to go do self-care. Turn off that phone. Go lock yourself in and watch a series of something. Walk outside. Don't congregate, but go get some fresh air and some breath. Do something for you because you need that and you deserve that. Well, thank you as always. Thank you, Mr. Collier, again for joining us. Thank you, our followers, our viewers. I appreciate you. And I hope you share this with at least 6 people who you know have been running too much and not resting enough. Please share it with them. But until next time, take care and remember to have a sound mind.